Hi, everybody. Welcome to the KC CHIROpulse podcast, brought to you by CATS Consultants, helping doctors keep their pulse on success. I'm Dr. Michael Perusich, and I'm joined with my co-host, Dr. Troy Fox. Dr. Fox, hello. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you
I just
doing
saw
today?
you. We just saw each other face to face.
We did. And so rather than take a question today, we're actually going to do a quick recap of something that was just phenomenal this weekend. We did a workshop.
Holy cow. It was beyond phenomenal.
It was called the Staff-Driven Practice. And I'm going to let you take it away from there. But we want to do a quick recap. For those of you that aren't clients of ours, these are the kind of things, it's attention to detail. And attention to detail has to do with more than just the doctor and just, how many new patients did you get? What's your PVA? That sort of thing. It's actually how your practice is run, how efficiently it's run, and how you work together. So without me giving too much of it away, take it away.
Well, the whole premise of the program this weekend was like you say, it was born around staff-driven practice. So, but what does that mean? Did we just throw out a bunch of procedures and here do this and do that? No, we took such a deep dive into what you have to do to create. And I'm going to use your word, Troy, congruency in your practice, where everything is just working on. Everybody in the practice is on the same page. Everything's working with steam behind it. And when you do that, when you pull this all together and you do this and the doctor drives the process, your life as the doctor is so much more simple. Your practice runs better. Your life runs better. Everything runs smooth. And in the end, you gain more wealth along the way. So I don't even know that we can capture in just a brief moment the power in that seminar this weekend and the excitement and exuberance from the clients that were there. I mean, there was an energy there like I haven't seen in a long time.
Lightning in a bottle. I mean, that's what I saw.
That's a great way to put it.
I went out to the hallway to go to the restroom, and people are talking about, oh my gosh, some of the concepts we were talking about, and it's not rocket science. It's just legitimate things that you need to do within your practice, and it all goes back to the doctor. And when you talked about congruency, in our last session, we talked a little bit about that. Congruency is so important that we are on the same page up here as we are in our practice, and that we relay that to our staff and we get our staff involved. And I mean, that's probably a real basic premise of what a staff-driven practice looks like. It's congruent from start to finish.
From start to finish. And it really helps keep the energy up in the practice. Some days you come in, you're kind of dragging a little bit, and wouldn't it be nice if your staff really pumped you up, and vice versa? They come in dragging once in a while, and the doctors are to, you're just there to pump each other up and keep each other on fire. And here's the cool thing about it. When you get to that level where you're just on fire every day, your patients love it. And they just, they want to see more of it. I know we used to do this in our practice, and patients would say all the time, some days I just come to watch you guys burn. You're just so fun to watch. Because everybody's high energy, high-fiving all over the place. The patients are all happy. You guys are happy. When do you let your hair down? No, we are like that all the time.
Right.
And when you get your practice to that level, when your staff is so engaged and so highly trained on everything, that the processes and procedures just happen. It's not a matter of having to monitor them to make sure everything's working right. You're playing on such a high level at that point that I don't know that I can really even explain it.
No, we talked a lot about SOP. We talked a lot about SOP, standard operating procedures, and one thing that we talked about, and you hit this really well when we were talking about it, is when we call your office and we ask your staff, do you provide this service? Do you provide cox flexion in your practice, for example? And that was the exact example that you gave. And the staff member that answers the phone goes, I don't know. Let me get back with you. Let me put you on hold. And then it goes from there where they come back off of hold and none of the staff know, but the doctor wasn't available. He's either with a patient or not in the building right then, which is the two times that you're not going to be available to answer that question for your staff. And the staff member says, well, we're going to have to get with the doctor and call you back. That doesn't instill confidence in your practice. And it's what I would call a failure from a standpoint of your team working together. And that's where the staff-driven practice comes into play. They spend a lot more time with your patients than you do.
Yes. Yes. And, I always say this, eggs are to be eaten, not worn. And so you never want egg on your face.
Right.
And that's what this seminar was all about, was not wearing the eggs, basically. Think about the patient who calls up and says, do you offer cox flexion? And I'm telling you, docs, this happens. People call in and they want a specific technique, and you may do it. You may offer that in your clinic. It might be part of your adjusting techniques that you know and love. But if your staff doesn't know that, then they can't answer the question. And you can't say to somebody who calls in, hey, do you utilize the activator technique? And the staff can't say, well, I'm not sure. I've never heard of that. Let me call you back when the doctor's available. What's the patient on the other end of the phone going to say? Well, okay, thanks, but I'm going to call around town, and the first person that does activator technique or whatever they're looking for is going to get that new patient. So you want your staff so highly trained that there's not a nook or cranny of your practice that they don't not only understand, but that they take ownership in as well. That's when you've reached the pinnacle of success in your practice, is when you're all clicking on all cylinders all the time.
Now, here's the good news, bad news about this. We're not going to give you everything that we did in the seminar. That wouldn't be fair to our people that came to the seminar and our clients of ours that work with us. But we gave you a couple of nuggets there of kind of where we start. We don't just work with you as the doctor. We work with your staff, and we actually have a dedicated team to work with your staff as well. So it's not just one of those deals where we talk to you and go, okay, what's your practice doing? Here's what you need to do. Run a new patient promotion. That's not how we operate at all. And so when we do a whole workshop based off of the staff-driven practice, that's just one leg of the if you have a table and it's got a bunch of legs under it, your practice has probably got a dozen legs under it that all need to be addressed. And some need to be addressed more urgently than others at times. But what we try to do consistently through the years is address all of the legs of the table. And we do it consistently. And whenever there's new changes, or sometimes it just gets dressed up, because sometimes, quite frankly, some of the building blocks or the legs of the table, they don't change over the years. So we may change the wording, the verbiage, how you speak to a patient, or how you speak to your staff, or even maybe how you speak to yourself, your own self-talk. That may change a little bit, but the concept in itself doesn't. So sometimes there are things that we teach over and over through the years of how to develop your practice. And it takes time. It takes time to maintain all those legs of the table.
It does. And I hear a lot of doctors say, well, we don't have staff meetings. We don't have training sessions. We don't do team building. We're here to see patients. I get that. You're here to see patients. And you think, and I think this is a common sense thought process, that doing these things, training staff to that level, takes time. And yeah, it does, but it doesn't have to take time away from patient care. And I'm going to tell you all day long, it's worth doing, because when you get to that point, you have absolutely outrageous growth and profitability in your practice. And that right there should be worth it. And one more thought here. In today's crazy employment market, this is also one of the keys to keeping and retaining great employees, is making sure that they're in some kind of professional development and training program, and you can do it right there in your office.
Yeah. And actually, that's just exactly what I was going to say, because I think it makes a great team because your staff feels so engaged and so involved in the process. Sometimes as the doctor, you're kind of the only guy on the island or the only gal on the island. And
Right.
this really creates staff involvement where they feel like they're a bigger part of the process. I can tell you that over the years, when I did staff development, or if I sent a staff member to maybe learn, a specific technique or get training on,
Hmm.
a therapy that we were doing or something like that, they were on fire with that. They absolutely
Yeah.
loved it because they were so involved in the process at that point. It wasn't just, here's what we do and here's how we do it. And I think sometimes hearing it from somebody other than the doctor, and they treat you sometimes in those trainings uh, like they do us doctors. They give us the research behind it. Here's how the product works. Here's how you use it. Here are instances. I think they get a little window into what we do sometimes with continuing ed, and I think it just opens their eyes sometimes to
Yeah.
what they're doing for patients.
Exactly. Exactly. And, one of the things that we heard over and over this weekend was just how simple these concepts are.
Mm-hmm.
And we give the implementation strategies of how to start doing some of this stuff in their clinic. And here we are, just a couple of days out from that seminar, and bam, I'm getting all kinds of phone calls and emails and text messages from clients. Thank you so much for that amazing seminar, where we walked away with so much information and an implementation process to put it to work.
Right. That's the key right there, is that this isn't just pie in the sky conceptualization. We actually have the steps to put it into place. And we have a huge library of implementation products to where
Yep.
you can get on the library itself and you listen to it in the seminar. And then you can go to the library and you can actually review that implementation process at your leisure, which is
Yeah,
a really
exactly.
nice thing to be able to do. And
It's at
that's
your
something.
fingertips all the time.
Yeah, that's something we offer. Now, we've talked about this multiple times before, but let's go through the process real quick because, we're excited about what we did with this workshop, and we'd love to see you get involved and be excited as well. It warms our hearts to be able to help other chiropractors. That's
Oh,
why we do what
absolutely.
we do. So,
Absolutely.
how does this work if I go, you know what, that sounds interesting. I've got several staff. I've never really done any development, but I think I'd be interested in something like that. How do I start that process?
Simple. Go to the website, catsconsultants.com, cats with a K, catsconsultants.com. Top right corner of the first page is a schedule a consult button. Just click on that. It goes right to my calendar. Here's what we do. First time we talk, we schedule a 45-minute breakthrough session just to talk about you and your practice. What's your vision of your practice? Where do you want to go with it? What kind of practice do you want to have? What are your pain points right now that are preventing you from getting there? So let's talk about it. We do this for free. Troy and Patrick and Marissa, all of us, we just enjoy giving back to the profession. So you can do that without even becoming a member. Then from there, if we decide we might be right for each other, the process is simple. We choose which program is going to work best for you. And boom, we get started on changing not only your practice, but changing your life as well. It's really simple.
Yeah, it's a wonderful process, and it's a multi-layered process, which also brings into play the fee schedule, because everybody always wants to know what's the fee schedule. That you can get involved in the conversation about, here's where my practice is at, and we go, well, here's what you need. And then you can start talking about pricing, and some of it is ridiculously low, actually. Not everybody needs the full enchilada.
Right. And I'm going to put it this way. Even with the full enchilada, if you will, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even the full enchilada with the extra beans, the rice, and the onions in it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you, your return on investment from our coaching program is through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And I can show you how that works in our breakthrough call if you want to know. So
yeah,
my suggestion is jump on catsconsultants.com, click on that schedule a consult button in the top right corner, jump on my schedule. Let's find some time to chat. Again, it's free, but it's the first step. So, and I enjoy just hearing about people's vision of what their practices are.
Yeah.
That I just appreciate that opportunity to talk to like-minded doctors. Troy, you and Patrick and I have been in practice for Well, at this point, it seems like forever. But
Yeah.
you know, we've been through the bumps and the bruises. But here's the
Hmm.
more important thing: is we also bring real life business experience to the table, and that's important in consulting. We need to know how to be a chiropractor, but we also need to know how to run a business. And I'm going
Hmm.
to tell you, those are two different functions, two different hats you have to wear.
Oh yeah,
So,
for sure.
and you know what? If you want to just participate in our podcast, which we love, if you want to submit a question, Troy, how do they do that?
They can contact us at Troy at catsconsultants.com, cats with the K, Troy at catsconsultants.com with questions. And you can send me the questions. We can keep you anonymous if you would like, or if you want to be famous, you can let me know that you want to be on our podcast. And we'll talk about, you know, specifics of your question. And I think actually the next podcast we've already got a couple of questions lined up, but I think the podcast after that we are actually wanting a few more questions. So feel free to jump on. I don't, you know, it's not one of those deals where I weed them out very often. 99% of the questions that get posed to us, we actually answer during the podcast.
Right. That's exactly right. So send your questions or thoughts, or if you just want to hear us banter something around, feel free. Troy, I think we can talk about anything. So,
Oh yeah.
all right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today to the KC CHIROpulse podcast, brought to you by Cats Consultants, helping doctors keep their pulse on success. So be sure to check us out at catsconsultants.com. And from all of us here at Cats Consultants, stay well adjusted.